Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. I'm Tamiko Pugh, also known as the Empowering Diva. Each week, you'll hear inspirational interviews as well as actionable tips and strategies that you can implement into your daily life to help you live a life of passion, purpose, and potential. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump into today's episode of Living the Empowered Life. This week's episode is sponsored by Living the Empowered Life Academy. Are you the go-to person in your group of friends? Do you have a zest for life and enjoy helping others reach their full potential? Do you feel a calling to make a difference in the world? If this is you, then you may want to consider becoming a life coach. Our next virtual online training begins March 31st, 2020. Our life coach training focuses on women who desire to motivate, inspire, and empower other women by using their skills, expertise, and experience to thrive as a personal development coach. Using the empowerment formula, participants will learn step-by-step tools, tips, and techniques needed to attract great clients and build a thriving, purposeful, and profitable coaching business. Get all the details and register at www.tamikolori.com/life coach training. Welcome to a new episode of Living the Empowered Life. I'm your host, the Empowering Diva, Tamiko Pugh. In this week's episode, I'll be chatting with bestselling author Tanisha D. Mackin. The embodiment of survivor, Tanisha Mackin is a woman tried by the fire and came out refined. Author Tanisha D. Mackin is an award-winning and 5-time best-selling author and an award-winning publisher. Tanisha became widowed at the tender age of 31 when her husband was tragically killed in a mass shooting outside the City Grill in Buffalo, New York on August 14th of 2010. The first bump in the road came in March of 2010 when she was diagnosed with colon cancer. Having to cope with the cancer diagnosis, the tragic killing of her husband, and the daunting task of putting the pieces of her young family back together again, she uses her story of still standing to inspire and motivate various audiences and assist her clients in turning their personal stories into powerful, best-selling memoirs. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into our powerful conversation with Tanisha Mackin. Tanisha, welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to literally dive into this conversation with you. So we've already heard your amazing bio. You have so much amazing stuff going on. You do a lot in the community. You do a lot for people. What I want to share right now with the Living the Empowered Life community is how we actually connected. Interestingly enough, Tanisha and I are both members of several women's empowerment groups, networking groups, entrepreneur groups, but yes, we are both from Buffalo, New York. We both wrote books or have coined the phrase still standing, and I'll share more about that a little bit later on. But what I really love about Tanisha is her authenticity. And I think it allows her to be able to be a voice for so many people who might not necessarily have a voice. She's authentic, she's personable, and I believe that she really has a unique calling and purpose on her life. So, and you'll hear more about why I say that in a few minutes. But on a lighter note, I affectionately call her Mother Mackin. Okay, like she will ever be Mother Mackin. Whenever I see her, I'm like, "What's up, Mother Mackin?" And so you'll find out why, and we'll talk more about that later on in this discussion. But let's go ahead and get started, Mother Mackin, or
yes,
Tanisha.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us. I know you're busy. I watch you on social media, but thank you so much for being here with us today.
No, thank you for having me. This is an honor. You know, I love you. So I definitely appreciate this. And I'm so grateful to be on here. And I'm so proud of you for even starting this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm proud of myself. Let me just say that. I was supposed to start
Yeah.
this 2 years ago, and I procrastinated and I procrastinated and I procrastinated to the point where literally the flyer that I used for the podcast, I had already created it 2 years ago. Just changed
2 years
the
ago.
date. Literally. So, yeah, I'm glad that you're proud of me because I am too. Like sometimes we let fear get in the way of certain things we
Right.
should be doing, and we think we're not good enough. But at the end of the day, there are so many people who need what we have.
Right.
Um,
Definitely.
and speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about Still Standing. I know that was your first book. And as I mentioned earlier,
Yes.
we both have coined the phrase Still Standing. Still Standing is actually the name of my nonprofit organization. It's also the name of my
Right.
publishing company. And it was the name of my first book. And so the interesting thing is, although me and Tanisha, me and you are from Buffalo.
Right.
We didn't officially meet until we both moved to Atlanta. And I was like, who is this chick using Still Standing? Like, that's my thing. Like, who is her? Who is this? And so when we met, I immediately connected with you. Like, we immediately connected. It's like I have been knowing you my whole life. And
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh, she is so cool. Okay, she can share Still Standing with me.
Yeah.
So, like, tell me a little bit about, or tell us about the phrase Still Standing. Like, what does that mean to you? And how do you implement that in your life?
Well, to me, it means still standing through everything that was there to knock you down. I mean, from having cancer to having my husband murdered to it's just I stood through it all instead of being knocked down. And yes, don't get me wrong, I cried and laid down for a couple of months, but to me it means I'm still standing regardless of what I went through. I'm still here, I'm still standing, I'm still here. That's what that means to me. Plus I use that phrase because a couple of years ago, about 10 years ago, when I was dealing with colon cancer, that song, it was a song from Monica. And what happened was my late husband always used to say, listen, this is your theme song right here. So when he passed away and I began to write and things of that nature, that came to my head like, God, this is my theme song. So that's why I started using Still Standing.
Yes, and it's a powerful phrase. I know we hear it in several
Yes.
different songs. Monica, there's also a gospel song. But when you really think about like, wow, I'm still standing after everything that I've gone through, like I'm still standing.
Right.
And the scripture that always comes to mind when I hear still standing is Psalm 62:2. He is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I shall not be moved. So I'm like, I'm still standing. And so many people go through stuff in life. But at the end of the day, you're still standing for a reason. And that leads me to my next question or the next thing I want to talk about. So still standing, you're still standing for a reason. So life has prepared you for the work you do today. So how do you think life has prepared you, the things that you're going through, the reason why you're still standing? How has that prepared you for the work that you do today?
I think it prepared me to help others, even though I didn't want to go through what I went through. I didn't want to go through that. That's something I didn't want to go through, but it prepared me to help others that have gone through it. I help other widows. I help other people publish their books, their stories. So my thing is I connect with people on a different level because of the things that I went through. So I connect emotionally with people and I can feel what they're going through. So it's easier for me to help them with their book. So I think it prepared me for a lot. When somebody go through something, I'm right there because something in that whatever they're going through, I've been through some part of it. So it's easier for me to help them and it's easier for me to get what they're trying to say out. It definitely prepared me. Lord knows I didn't want to go through this stuff, but it definitely prepared me.
Yeah. And, so many people are suffering in silence, which is why I said you have a unique calling on your life. Like, who would have ever thought that you could be a person a grief coach that helps other widows? Like, we don't often think about, we don't grow up. So you didn't grow up and say, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a grief coach, right? I didn't grow up and say, oh, I want to be a domestic violence coach, or like, we don't grow up thinking that. And so oftentimes the things that we go through prepare us for what we have to do in the future. And it's never about us. It's always about the people that God has called us to. So, so many people are suffering in silence because they're grieving from some kind of loss. And it might not be death, but it can be some type of loss, and they don't know how to manage
loss. Right. It can be anything. Heartbreak. It could be loss of a job. It's just loss of friendships, loss of anything.
Yes.
And so you're still going to mourn it. You're still going to grieve it.
Yes. So that's what I wanted to ask you. So they're suffering in silence. They don't know how to manage it. What are some coping techniques or some methods that you can share with someone who maybe lost a spouse, or they're just grieving from loss in general? How do they get through that grieving process?
Listen, so you go through 5 stages. So a lot of people start thinking that they're crazy because one minute they're absolutely positively happy, and then the next day they go right back down. So I let everybody know that it's going to definitely be a roller coaster ride. Yeah, one day you'll be good, the next day you're going to hurt. So I tell people to pick up healthy habits. You're going to feel some type of way. You're going to be angry. You're going to be sad. You're going to go through all these emotions. Go through them. Feel them. Don't pick up a bottle. Don't pick up pills. Don't pick up nothing. You need to go through these emotions in order to get to where you have to go. I chose to do healthy habits. Like, to this very day, if something is wrong with me, I pull up to Michael's and I go get a canvas and I come home and I paint. That's what helps me all the time. I paint. I just paint. One time I was going through something, not even gonna lie to you, I was going through something. I painted the interior of my house, the entire house. I said, you know what? I want a different color in my house. And I painted my whole house, but it calms me. So I tell people, painting, reading, writing. Writing was another outlet. Going to counseling, like pick up healthy habits instead of, yes, you're going to have your days, but it helps when you are able to pick up like habits that can help you and ease your mind. I'm telling you, painting and writing are the 2 major things for me. That's what helped me.
Wow. So more so being in tune with your creative side.
Yes, that's definitely
writing and painting. And I think when people are active, you're actively doing something that makes you feel a little bit better.
Right.
But you also say just go through the emotions. I think sometimes we're afraid to go through the emotions. So I'm about to share, because I love hip hop, and I think hip hop music sometimes shares a lot of stuff that people go through. And Jay-Z said it on his 444 album. I forgot what song. He said, I know the pain is real, but you can't heal what you never reveal. And sometimes we just don't go through those emotions, and being able to admit that that pain is there. It's okay to do that. And I think so many of us suffer in silence. I personally suffered in silence when I went through my first divorce with my ex-husband, who was abusive. Like, I didn't tell anybody. And I went through those. I didn't realize it was grief, Tanisha. And sometimes I thought I was crazy. I would have a good day. I would have a bad day. But if I knew some of the stuff that I do know now, there's so many resources, and there's people like you out there that can help. Like, I had no idea. It took me almost 10 years when I wrote my first book. That's when the healing began, because I started to write, like using my creative juices. So I think people
are scared. They're scared to talk about it, or scared to feel it. And I'm like, you have to go through it. You can't suppress it, because it's going to come out years later through something else. Like, you have to get it out. It is what it is. You just have to. Yeah. Cry if you got to cry. Go scream. Like, it was days that I had to scream. When it first happened, oh my God, I had to scream. I mean, I had to get it out.
And let me know if it's okay to share this, but I follow you on social media. We're both from Buffalo, so I see what's happening in the news and in the media. And I saw where recently they kind of replayed what happened with your husband. How did that impact you? Or are you okay with even sharing about that right now?
Yeah, I'll share. Oh, girl, please, I'll share about it. You know me, I'm an open book. So with that, I didn't understand the reasoning of bringing up unseen video. And in the footage, what really took me out was in the footage of the video of that night. You can start hearing when the guy started shooting, and everybody's running into the club. And I remember me being the last person to run into the club, but to see myself about to run into the club, but I turn around and I'm looking. You can see me looking for my husband. You see me looking for him. And I'm like, where is he? Where is he? And the guy is still shooting.
Oh my
That
God.
had a major impact on me. Like, this was just last week. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to lie to you. I went down for 2 days. I went down for 2 days. I was on the phone with my parents. I was crying hard. I was in the kitchen. My son had to pick me up off the floor because I'm like, just to see yourself going through that and you know the outcome of it, it did something to me. And I don't think there was any reason of replaying that. I guess they wanted to be the first people to talk about the 10-year anniversary of this, but it could have been done in a much better way.
And it tastes good too.
Yes, y'all start putting out videos of people, the guys shooting, you can hear the shots. It was horrific. And to relive that, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm a strong person, but that day I completely went down. I went down. I went to bed. I had to go lay down.
Your pain. I thought about you when I heard about it, and I felt your pain in that. But, one of the things you said earlier is going through those emotions. And so you allowed yourself to feel those emotions, to go through the emotions. And it may be, maybe the media could have done something, like maybe they could have interviewed you and saw where you are today and what you're doing to help people who go through that. There are so many other positive ways that could have been done. And so I'm really sorry that you had to experience that. My heart definitely goes out to you and the children because it impacts them as well. You know what I mean?
It does.
But you mentioned
especially my oldest watching me cry like that. He was like, "Mom, why would they do that?" I'm like, "I don't know." Like, it was a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tanisha, you said go through the emotions, do something creative, like reading and writing, going to counseling. People, I know that we think it's a stigma and we shouldn't go to counseling, but counseling is so important.
Girl, bye.
Good.
Listen, anytime something go wrong, I'll be like, I need to call my peoples again.
Yes. I mean, counseling, girl, it's so important and it helps. Even if you think you don't need it, you need it. And then the other thing you mentioned was developing healthy habits. So I really wanted to recap that. I thought that was very important. So Tanisha, you also mentioned that you have a publishing company. And share a little bit about the name of your publishing company and why you started it and who is your ideal client.
Okay, so my publishing company is just Tanisha Mackin Publishing, LLC, and I started it after I wrote my, I believe, either second or third book. I started receiving calls from people who were like, you know what, I've always wanted to do this, and I see that you're doing this. How can you help me write my book? And I'm like, okay, and it hit me in the middle of the night. Like, I'm telling you, it was just God, like, smacked me in the face with this. You need to make a company from this. Like, you need to start a publishing company. So I started my publishing company. And like I said, it helps me to help people share their stories. So this is something I love. I didn't know that I wanted to do this. I didn't wake up and say, hey, as a kid, I want to be a publisher. This was something that fell into my lap, I feel, and I've gone with it. And when it comes to my ideal client, we're really looking for people who want to share their inspirational stories, people who have been through something that's like, okay, I want to share my story with the world. I want to be able to help somebody with my story. I want to share my testimony. So those are the type of clients that we love to get because, like, again, I love reading their stories and I love being able to share their stories and then the outcome of how people be like, oh my God, their book was amazing. And like, those are the things that make me happy in life.
Yeah.
So that's why I started this company. And I'm just amazed of the books that I have came out with, created with other people. I just love it. It's just, I feel like they are masterpieces. That's what I call them. I call them their masterpieces.
They are masterpieces because you get an opportunity to help people create a legacy. Like, that book is out there forever for their children and their grandchildren. And, so they get to create that legacy, but they also get to share their story and go through that healing process. And then they in turn can help other people with their stories. So I think there's something very powerful in that. It's just powerful that you were able to turn your pain into purpose. I mean, finding purpose through your pain. That's what just came to my mind. Finding purpose through your pain and
Yes.
being diagnosed with colon cancer, becoming a widow all in the same year. Like, that's devastating. And you were literally able to pick up those pieces, turn that pain into purpose, and be like, you know what, I'm still standing. Right. And
Right.
so not allowing those things that happen to you to bring you down, but yet to kind of lift you up. So that is very inspirational. Do you have any events coming up, anything that you want to share with the Living the Empowered Life community?
Yes. Actually, I have about 3 events coming up. The first event will be April 23rd, and that will be here in Georgia. We're doing a Turning Your Pain into Profit writing workshop. So if you want information on that, that's on, that's everywhere. I have it on my website. I have it on all my social medias. It's on Eventbrite, yes. And what that is I want to teach people how to turn their pain into profit. A lot of people are afraid to share their stories, and they're not confident in sharing their stories. And I want to give them the real uncut of, this is what you need to do. I want to just put it out there along with some fundamentals of writing, fundamentals of publishing a book. So we go through like 4 different phases, and it's a training manual that I made up. So that's the first one. And July 18th, I'm having my Rebuilding After a Bull brunch, and that's in Buffalo, New York. And that brunch is just a brunch of about 30 women. It's an intimate brunch, and we get to talk about things that we got going on in our lives and how we rebuild after going through a lot of bull in our life. So I have guest speaker, will be Michelle from Women in the Spotlight. Mm-hmm. I'm honoring Tamika Mackin from Buffalo, New York. She has an amazing story. And I have a lot of guest hosts. And again, it's bottomless mimosas. So we just sit there and we talk. We have the speakers I honor, and then we talk about what we're going through. And women, they'll be able to share their stories in an intimate setting. And to me, I call it a safe place, because after we leave, we hug, we cry it out, we laugh. After we leave, we don't share them stories with everybody who didn't come. Right. Those stories are meant for us. Those are for us, and for us to get through, and for another woman to say, I went through that. Here's the steps that I took to get through that. So this is my second one. I love these brunches. They are amazing. I have a great time. And then my third event is September 20th, and that's in Buffalo, New York again. And that is the second writing workshop that I have going on. So I have one in Georgia and I have one in Buffalo. So I'm just excited about those things. I decided to step out my box and start doing a writing workshop. I'm like, okay, I've never done anything like this before, but it has to get out there. So I decided to do it. I decided to write a manual for it, and here we are.
That's awesome. I love it. I love how you're giving back. But let me tell you, so earlier I talked about how you're so authentic. You're just a real person. So she mentioned her event, Rebuilding After Bull, but she didn't say the whole thing because she's being nice. She's on the Living the Empowered Life podcast. But right. Rebuilding After Bull-ish. I'm not going to say the word, but how authentic and how real was that? Like, when you were with your girlfriends, you're like, I'm tired of going through this bull-ish. You know what I mean? So I think it just makes sense. Like, I'm rebuilding after all this bull that I've gone through. And that's why I said you're authentic, because there are probably a lot of people who think that, but they're not going to say it or create an event using that term. Mm-hmm. So when I say that you're authentic, you're like just literally open with it. That's what I love so much about you. And then the other thing, let me tell you, so me and Tanisha, both from Buffalo, New York, probably didn't have the best upbringing. I grew up in the projects, like just a whole lot of stuff. We didn't have a silver spoon put in our mouths. So when I think about still standing, I think about growing up in the hood, growing up in Buffalo, New York, rebuilding our lives, moving to Atlanta to make a better life for us, for our children. Let me tell you, so I would have never thought that Tanisha would be a mother. So that's why I joked and I said Mother Mackin, like a mother of the church. Because you think mother of the church is somebody that's, the little ladies with their white outfits on, and they're like, over 70. But Tanisha is a mother. So that's why I
Yes.
affectionately call her Mother Mackin when I see her and she cracks up laughing. But can you just tell us, this is the last thing I want to talk about. How did you become a mother of the church at such a young age?
Okay, so for some reason I gravitate to the elders of our church. I love those women. I love their knowledge. I just love everything about them. They're so sweet. So I started sitting with them, and at one point it became a joke, like, oh, you want to be a mother too? But one of the mothers wanted me to become a mother, and she said to me, she wants me to become a mother because she wants to train me up. So if anything was to ever happen to any of them, you have somebody who can take over from a younger generation and build me up to teach me how to be a mother of the church. So she told me, she said, I am not 80 and 90 years old like them. She said, I am my age, and she wants me to continue to be who I am because I can connect with anybody. And that's their main goal, is trying to be able to connect with the elders of our church, and to connect with the youngins in our church, and connect with anybody. I can connect with anybody, and that's what they love about me. They inducted me into being the mother. So I am really Mother Mackin, one of the youngest mothers of our church. And I don't take it lightly. I sit with them. I learn from them. Whatever they want me to do, I do for them. Like, I help them out. They just love it. And they always tell me every week, they hug me and say, I'm so glad you with us, because I can reach out to everybody. And I love it. Like, the knowledge you get from them, just sitting there and listening to them and their stories of how they were younger and what they've been through. It's just a blessing. And I'm glad to be around them, and I love them to death, and they know it. They know it. They are amazing.
I love
yes,
it.
they
I
are
love
amazing.
it. I told you you were special, and you had a special anointing, a special calling on your life. You really do, because you can reach the younger people in the church, and then you can reach the millennials, you can reach whatever our generation. I think it's like Generation X
Right.
or something. So, or the baby. No, we're not baby boomers. I think that was our parents, but like, you can reach so many generations with your personality, and then being able to learn from them, that's a blessing in itself. You know what I mean?
Yes, they are amazing. They are so amazing. I tell everybody in church, I'd be like, y'all can't mess with my clique, okay? This is my clique right here. My crew.
Got the mothers of the church saying clique. I love it.
Yes, that's my crew. They know it.
I love it. I love it. So one of the things, I am a huge believer in practicing like a morning ritual or a morning routine. This is something that I implemented in my life last year. Just after, having a health scare and not really taking care of myself and having quiet time and things of that nature. But I really believe that we all should have some type of morning ritual or something to get us started, to start our day off in a positive way. So for me, it's prayer and meditation. And I love to work out. So I'm in the gym in the mornings. I do my prayer and meditation. And then I also love to recite positive affirmations. It just kind of helps me with building confidence, self-esteem. And then it helps me to speak life over myself as I get started for the day. So do you have a morning daily practice? I don't want to call it a ritual, make it sound like something spooky, but maybe a daily routine or a practice that helps you prepare for the day?
So my day starts off, like, as soon as I wake up, the first thing I do is I say, thank you, God, for giving me a new day. Then after that, I wake my daughter up. We got to get her ready. Then the next thing is my son gets ready. And then after that, I start, I don't have per se a morning routine, but I do pray a lot. And I pray during the day. I could see something on Instagram that something happened to somebody. I'd be like, Lord, and I stop whatever I'm doing, and I pray over that person or whatever they're going through. But my morning ritual is just basically, girl, just waking up and saying, thank you, God. I have my affirmations on my wall, so I look at those every morning, but it's just thanking God. Now, recently, I've started, I think it's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, a guy from Buffalo named Bruce. He has his morning calls. So I started for the last 2 weeks now. I've been on his morning calls, and they are awesome. So I listen to his calls on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then just go on about my day.
I think that's good, though. Even just waking up saying thank you, that's
Yeah, I do it every morning. Like, thank you. I'm up. I'm breathing. I'm healthy. You know, I can get my kids up, get them ready for school. Like, just thank you.
That's awesome.
I do it every morning.
So, well, thank you for sharing that. And so before we close out, I just love for people to share a final thought or a charge for the audience. I mean, you said some amazing things today. I took away a lot of good nuggets. I was taking notes as we were talking because I think I can pull information and knowledge and motivation from everyone. So I did take some notes for myself. But what's your final thought or charge for the audience?
Live your life like it's like your last days. You never know. You never know the day, the hour, the minute anything will happen or anything in your life will change. So I say live life to the fullest. Love on those that love you. And just, I mean, we go through things. We get upset. Okay, get upset for a good 2 minutes and then keep it moving. Like, it's always a lesson learned from everything that you go through. And that's how I start looking at life now. Like, what is the lesson behind this? What am I going through? Like, okay, Destiny came home with a bad grade. What's the lesson behind that? Mom, you need to work with her more. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So anything now that something goes on, I just take it as a lesson. What do I need to learn from it? I learn from it and I move a different way.
Yes, I love that. And that's exactly how I live my life. Live your life like it is your last day on this earth. I promise you, because tomorrow's not promised. So if you want to write that book, call Tanisha and she will help you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So whatever it is you want to do, go ahead and do it. And one more thing, I forgot, the other thing we have in common is both of our daughters' name is Destiny. I totally forgot about that.
Yes. Yes. You know, mine's got the double E's at the end.
Yes, but yeah, so yep, that's the other thing we have in common. So live your life like it's your last day on this earth. So Tanisha, again, how can our listeners connect with you? Share your social media, your website information.
Okay, my website is just TanishaMackin.com. And you can find me on all social media as Tanisha Mackin. And I do have Tanisha Mackin Publishing on Instagram. So I have a couple of Instagrams. All you do is put in Tanisha Mackin. I have a couple of Facebooks, put in Tanisha D Mackin. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm also on Twitter.
All right. So you heard it from Tanisha Mackin. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Like I said earlier, I took away a lot of great nuggets from our conversation. And I look forward to supporting your upcoming initiatives and anything you have going on. So thank you again.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Living the Empowered Life and my powerful conversation with Tanisha Mackin. I truly hope that you're able to draw some motivation and inspiration from our discussion today as you continue on your journey of living an empowered life. And remember, your strength doesn't come from lifting weights. It comes from lifting yourself up when you get knocked down. So ladies, listen. It's time to discover and live your life purpose. It's time to value yourself. It's time to set goals that are going to move you forward in life. It's time to rebuild your confidence. It's time to fearlessly walk in your authentic power. And ladies, it's time to live the empowered life.